says going live. I don't know if I'm live already. Going live. Until I get a better connection, I guess, or a better computer. Oh, I think I'm live right now. Hello, I'm just gonna keep talking and hopefully you get my gist. I'm not the best speaker yet. I'm practicing, but I'm not there yet. Okay. My name is Valzubiriagenda. I'm an artist and a writer. Now, I'm going to do this as fast as I can, but it still might need some time, okay? Especially now that you're just beginning to learn this, right? So we're artists, right? And way back in the 90s, I'm really old right now. Way back in the 90s, I started reading on what to do, because as an artist, we probably need to get known, right? Now, that's the 90s. By 96, I kind of realized when I started attending conventions for publishing, it occurred to me that we don't need to get known. Not as much, right? Because if you walk into a bookstore, you see all these books and you see all these names, but you would not be able to recognize most of these names when you bump into that person or persons, these authors on the street. So there's no need to become known 100%. Just remember that, because a lot of I've spoken to a few people and they go like, "Oh my God, I probably need to be world famous." No, you don't. Okay. And here's something else. There's something that about art and writing that I kind of noticed that I probably should tell you now. Artists, I've spoken to a few artists in my days, and some of them don't want to look at other people's art because they think that their art might be influenced by other people's. So they want to be as unique as possible. They don't want to look at the art. On the other hand, if you go to a bookstore, you see books endorsed by other fellow writers, fellow authors, and they're saying this is the best book I've ever read and blah, blah, blah. And they're authors as well. See? So we need to understand that. We need to sleep on that. And it might be a while before it sinks in us, that we probably should start appreciating other people's art. Okay. We need to be together. This is the reason why there's a divide and conquer. If you realize, that some galleries would not introduce the artists to the collectors because they're the in-between people, right? Okay, so 93, 94, 95, I was reading on Become Famous, and there was this tip in most of them, kind of like a common denominator. We should be in print. We should get into print. What's print? Business cards, invitations, postcards. But a better version of getting into print would be to be featured in a newspaper or magazine. Now, the thing about newspapers, the next issue of a daily newspaper displaces the previous issue. And it's the same with monthly magazines. So even if you got featured in a monthly magazine, chances are you'll be forgotten by the time the new issue comes out. Okay, there's a better tip. The best tip that they said, those books said, was we come up with our own books, or we get into books, or somebody writes about us, right? Okay, so the best books that I've kind of figured out for myself and for everyone else would be, this is what I call #valzubiriagenda. We write our memoirs, biographies, art books, and art catalogs. Now, by 1998, I kind of decided I'm going to write my memoir. And my first draft, my first manuscript, which had 170,000 words, came about, I started writing it in 2005, which is, 98 to 2005 took 7 years, right? For me to psych myself into doing it. And I finished it in 2006. And then I took it to the book convention for publishers and booksellers, Book Expo America. And so I learned a few new, to experience it is, it's different than just thinking about it, okay? Okay, so this is my tip. We level up. We are still in competition with each other, right? So we level up by writing our memoirs, biographies, art books, and come up with our art catalogs. Okay. Now the thing with the art catalogs is that we learn from the Beanie Babies, right? We give our catalogs to cafes, restaurants. I'm saying in my books, right, that I wouldn't mind being represented by a funeral home and a janitor's closet. Anyone can make money from us. We just need to come up with this idea, right? Now, the thing with coming up with books, if you're represented by a gallery, chances are they wouldn't help you. You're still on your own. And when you come up with your book and you ask for, you show it to your gallery, they still would require you to agree with their cut. See? So after all the effort and emotion and depression, writing a book about yourself, your memoir, usually the most poignant stories would be the saddest ones, right? The most traumatic. And after all that's said and done, they would still require to get their percentage as usual. And this is why I've become like, when I told the galleries here where I was hanging out that I'd written one memoir, they actually said, hey, you know what, you just might be collectible because our artists don't have memoirs and you have one. And then eventually after months of hanging out, they give me an informal designation. I'm a friend of the galleries here. And it's not all the galleries, it's the higher end galleries that are members of the organization. Okay, so they asked me, why are you not represented by any one of us? By this time you should have a representation. And I said, I'm trying to figure out, I appreciate all of you, and I'm trying to figure out how to be represented by everybody. Okay. And that was 2007 when I was telling them that. And it's 2020. A lot of businesses right now are in need of money, not only the galleries, but cafes, even huge department stores and airlines need money, right? So this is why I'm saying, let's get our art a little above where we're at right now. Let's level up like a video game, and level up, come up with our books. It may be a challenge for you, and this is why I'd like to help in terms of, if you have any questions, I'd go online and answer it. I'll talk to you about writing, about coming up with books. There are book design, and a lot of us might not know that. Okay, so aside from that, I'm encouraging not just galleries, okay, but restaurants and even auto shops, funeral parlors, janitor's closets, anyone who wants to sell art. They can sell our art, and all you need would be our catalogs. And that way you wouldn't be displaying like $1 million art, but you're actually selling $1 million art, right? Without theft. Because we've learned from Beanie Baby. Some people would just steal Beanie Babies and thinking that they would go up in value and destroy property. And that wouldn't happen if we come up with a standard, which is coming up with our catalogs. And they have to be as comprehensive as possible, because some of us would have art that can easily be duplicated and faked by experts and non-experts. And that's, the catalogs would show the grain and details of the artwork that cannot be duplicated. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, here's something else. I'm agreeing, or I'm allowing and promoting this theory, that as soon as an investor gets my art, they can publish it, do whatever they want with it, it's theirs, including the copyright. Because these investors, let's say a cafe represents like 20 artists, and the investors go from cafe to cafe, or location to location, getting art that they can afford, right? $5 art, $100 art, $1 million art. they should have the right, without having to look for us and getting our, permission, they should be able to publish their books, their own catalog, so that they can also get back to the locations that are already selling our art. See, so for their convenience, they should be able to make a catalog on their own that will have all 200 artists with, that's going to contain 200 works by 200 artists. Okay, so hopefully you're okay with that too, because on the internet there are so many free images. So why won't we just give our images to those people who own it? Okay, to the people who buy our art, right? So they can do it what they will, without having to wait for us to die. Okay, so that's one part of this. Okay, now if you're a cafe, you want to come up with your own books, you can feature your 20 artists that you will be representing. So come up with a collaboration. Each chapter has the artist's profile and some images. Now for that privilege, that's a privilege, because you go through all this effort to publish your books, right? You can barter with the artists that you're going to have. What you can do, you eventually become not just agents who are getting commission from the art, but your own art as well. So you become your own collector. Okay. Now, what else can I tell you? Okay, so imagine this. All of us, like your city, like a big city or small city, you have artists, right? And each one has a memoir, art books, art catalogs, and biographies. And imagine that, it's a show and tell, So what I'm saying here too is the art piece, your books have to be books. They're printed books. And I'm going to be online. You can ask questions. And I'm going to be encouraging other people who know about book design. All you need for books is Amazon, your own account, right? And Amazon really just requires you to, for every book, they require you to just submit the PDF files for a printed copy. And the reason for printed copies is you can bring 20 copies to your meetings. Like what I'm saying, show and tell. So it'll be a meeting. We can meet every once in a while to show our books and meet investors and art collectors and other would-be agents who would like to work with us, and publishing professionals or people who want to get into publishing and packaging books for us. They would be writers, co-authors, even ghostwriters. It's a different banana publishing. We can actually use ghostwriters to write for us, but that's kind of self-defeating, If you see somebody else write, if you see a book wherein that you have a co-author, it's like an endorsement of your life and your work, So I would prefer that you give credit where credit is due. So don't use ghostwriters. Don't pretend like you wrote it. Just use different names, right? Use different ghostwriters who would work with you. Okay? And then there would be editors, proofreaders, photographers of artwork, and book designers. So these people will collaborate with you, barter your art, so that they also become invested in you in a more direct way. They'll be playing with the full price. Okay. Now we go to the price. This is what I want to show you too, the numbers. Okay. Now in my case, I am setting my prices, and this is what I'm suggesting for you to do. You can start at any price. I don't care. Start at $1 million. Who cares, right? I don't care. I encourage you to do that. You can probably also start at $5. You can ask your sellers what they think. If they can sell $100 art or $100 million art. Okay. So once again, the economy is bad, and there are investors that are hoping to make money off of overpriced stocks and overpriced real estate. And stocks, anything related to stocks right now and real estate, they might crash. Okay. On the other hand, if these numbers here, we can announce our scarcity. For example, like me, I'm telling everyone, I just want to make 6,500 works so that I can do something else. Okay, ADD. Well, not necessarily, but why would you? This is 21st century. It's not the 20th century anymore. 20th century, there's an artist, one single gallery makes the most money, and I don't think that's, and you know, that's a different scenario. That's the 21st century. That's the 20th century. 21st century, we say, hey, you know what? I want to make 6,500 works, and that's it. Now, just to remind you, if you look at Picasso on Wikipedia, supposedly he's done like 36,000 works. Okay. Now compare that with our scarcity. Like I want to only make 6,500 works, and at the same time, here's something else. I'm claiming to be the current living contemporary artist who has personally written the most memoirs that have the perspective of a visual artist in the world. And the reason I decided to do this before I come out is because you as an artist might, if I told you that I only have one memoir, you might say, hey, that's easy to do, you know. But if I want to lead you and make you do what I'm preaching, then I kind of decided, you know what, one is not enough, you know, I need to have the most memoirs, and then eventually also promise you that over the next 3 years, I'll come up with 5 more memoirs. So eventually there'll be 10, and this is part of my Memoirs of an Artist series. When I get my 10th, I will redesign my series so that they have, you know, like a nice design, a nice similar type of design, kind of like a series, right? So if you think about this, you know, if you keep writing and producing your books, your art catalogs and art books, you can keep repeating your images as well, right? If you want, and you'll come up with many books, okay? And that's a favor you're doing to your collectors, okay? So you can. If this trends and you don't have a book yet, and you start meeting with people, you can make a promise. You know, you can say, hey, you know what? I promise that I will write my memoir, and it should be ready in a few years or a few months. That's up to you, but it's up to them too. It's their money. They will make a decision on whether to invest in you or not. Okay, and hopefully they will. It all depends on the endorsement, right? If you're represented. See, like I said, you know, you don't need to be represented by one single gallery anymore. I would find it more fun to be represented by 1,000,000 cafes, okay? And 1,000 funeral parlors. That's for me, you know. I would think that's funny, and I would think that's something to talk about. You know, I'd like to be represented by 1,000 funeral parlors or funeral homes. We all need money, right? Okay, and I wouldn't mind being represented by auto shops, not just auto showrooms, and I wouldn't mind being represented by the actual auto manufacturing company, so that they can pay like all their employees, you know, coming from art, that, you know, they just need to sell one single piece, and they probably can divvy up the earning from that single piece to as many employees as they can. You know? So that's the reason why I'm doing this. And here's something else. If you're a kid and you want to help your parents, make art. Because art is subjective. Okay? I can't tell. I've been hanging out in the galleries. Okay? So I've seen art. I've seen art that I wouldn't want. I've seen art I would want. Okay? And I've seen art that I might in myself, you know, like I wouldn't tell you that it's ugly. There's no way I would tell you that, because I've learned, you know. And so even ugly art, outsider art, if you're homeless, make art. And if you're somebody who can help the homeless, publish the books, please do so. Now here's the thing: if I become more not confident. If I become more okay with my earnings, I'd be able to finance editors and co-authors and book designers, book photographers for your art. If you can't do it right now yet, that's okay. Just look for partners. This is the reason why I'm, like hopefully there will be a meetups where you're at. Okay, come up with your meetups. If you want to dominate the place, like if you're an investor, you want to dominate everyone else, and you want to form your investment club, that's okay. If you are an artist and you want to dominate your group, you want to form your group of investors and art collectors and people who can help you, that's okay too. See, if you're a cafe, you want to dominate your situation by gathering your artists together with investors and art collectors, that's okay too. So everyone gets a chance to succeed, right? And not only that, to share the earnings with as many businesses and individuals as possible. And this is what I'm hoping would happen. I've seen, okay, I'll tell you something. I saw this picture some years ago. I saw this picture of a dad with 4 daughters, and underneath that, it said, "Our dad has cancer, and we need help. We need money. Here's our phone number and email address. Please donate." And I was like, oh my God, these kids can make art, or the dad can make art, and hopefully they make enough money for whatever they need to spend on. And then I saw this, I guess, veteran. He's much younger than me, obviously. Really nicely dressed and really exact, with this, the tuck shirt and all that. He was missing a right hand, and I was kind of like, you know what, this guy can't go back to his chosen, he can't go back fully to his chosen field, right? And I was kind of like, this guy can just make art at home, right? And also write his memoir. And that would be so nice. And somebody will buy his art. Now, I've seen homeless art, and somebody will buy that art too. So if you're, for example, okay, let's say you're at 70s, you're an actor or actress, you were famous in the 50s or 70s or 60s, and you're not making money anymore. Make art. Somebody will want to get that. Just make sure that, in my opinion, okay, do your best to come up with your comprehensive art catalogs, because 50 years from now we would not be around. Our art catalogs will prove that whatever collection or collections the future will have is our own. It's our original work. Even if your art might be duplicatable or faked, the grain, if you can show the grain in your catalogs, that would be good. Who else can make art? Oh, porn stars. Well, everyone has a name. Everyone's made a name for himself or herself, right? You can be a YouTube personality. You can make art, right? And just use hashtag valzubiriagenda. It's free. Everyone can. Anyone can use it. And the reason for hashtag valzubiriagenda, if you, for example, have a cafe or a restaurant or a beauty salon, just display hashtag valzubiriagenda, that message outside your window, and people are going to know that you're selling art and you're following, most of the guidelines. Now, the guidelines are not compulsory, so you can choose to price your work as you want. You can tell them you're not writing any books. You can tell them that you're still undecided on books or whatever. That's your prerogative, and it's the prerogative of these people who can buy art from you, if they want to buy your art or they want to, move on to the next artist. So we're still, well, obviously we're still in competition with each other, right? But we can be so much better than what 20th century and earlier art world, used to be. We can endorse each other. We can also support each other. If somebody has a question about something, ask. If they ask, you should answer. Well, hopefully you would. Okay. I can answer questions on porcelain and what software to use to write, and I can answer what software to use to publish books, and why you should not be thinking about becoming famous. It's not important. People will still buy your art. And what else? If you're not an artist yet and you want to be one, by all means, ask me how. I'll teach you some techniques. And so, good luck. Oh, here, let me show you this. Okay, this is what I've been showing people, right? And imagine this: I'm making proposals to not only individual small business, but let's say I'm also making proposals to pension funds. Pension funds, if you look them up, they need billions of dollars. See, so if I'm only making 6,500 works, so I make an announcement of my scarcity rate, my work would not be enough to help each and every pension fund, right? What I'm suggesting for them, if they want to use me, is they can take, let's say, 200 works here. It'll cost them $10 million, right? And then valuate it at the future price, because everyone's working on it. Okay, so the purpose of announcing your prices is making your prices more predictable for everybody to see. So if I say, hey, you know what, my price right now is 200,000, then everyone knows it. See? And they're going like, oh my goodness, I probably should get something now, because he's trying to reach the higher prices. And it seems like it's working. Now, how do you get to this? How do you get to the higher numbers? See, the number of works is standardized. See, it's the same number, so everyone remembers it, right? Now, you can price your work incrementally. So incrementally, it would be like 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300. This is exponential. Okay. Now, the reason I do this is if somebody gets something at 1.6, then they just need to wait for the next iteration of the price to be able to say in their financial statements, hey, and investors in the group and company and the public, that whatever they invested in just doubled. See? So it's so much like this. See? Like 50 just needs to wait one iteration to be able to double the investment rate. So if they invested at 12.8, then same thing, they just need to wait for the next iteration of the price. Okay. Now here's something else, the theory of 6 degrees of separation. Okay. If somebody can afford 50, chances are they have partners and business partners and relatives and friends who can afford 100. See? But they probably don't know anyone who can afford 51. Okay. Now, if somebody can afford 800, chances are they know people who can afford 1.6, and not people who can afford 51.2. And they wouldn't look at art that's 50,000 right here. So, so this is my theory of 6 degrees of separation. They're safe as long up to the 1% of 1 degree, the first degree of separation, that they would be safe. So this is why I think it's doable all the way to here. Now there might be a snowball effect happening, right? Because as I told you, everyone sees the same numbers. And even if we ever, and this is just one single page, that's one single printout of a PDF file, right? So we update it every once in a while, right? And I can change my numbers here later, but it's understood that I reserve the right to do that, okay? And okay, now here's something else. If more people make a reservation with your art, for your art, and and they're expecting, and you have a rate of production, okay, it'll be slower, understandably, than the demand that you might be able to generate for yourself, right? They're going to be trading the paperwork even before the art pieces get made. Like me, for example, I don't have art yet right now. Well, I have my prototypes, right? I'm proposing to make dioramas with my porcelain dolls, together with precious metal and gemstones for the backdrop. And so I'm promoting myself as like hoping to be the next Fabergé. So my art catalogs will come later, and this is why I wrote my memoirs, just so they have books to look at. And I don't know about you. You know, if you need to know how to write books, I'll be how to write book-length manuscripts. I'll teach you that. I'll tell you what I know. Okay, it's still your talent, you know. So be online, subscribe, and I'll be able to tell you more about all this later. And for now, I would ask you to share this with your fellow artists, for your fellow cafe owners, your partners, business partners, if you're a small company. If you're an individual who wants to temporarily become an artist, that's fine too. You can let me know. If you have any questions, I'll tell you, okay? I'll answer whatever questions you have, okay? Let's see, what else can I tell you before I go? Oh, piggybacking, okay. Like remember I told you, these magical pension funds can purchase our art at a lesser price and then evaluate it at a higher price, so they can borrow money, so they can pay out the pension to their pensioners. That's piggybacking, okay? For example, if I tell you that I do have, once I tell you that I have a client, okay, that took 200 works from me, that's piggybacking. So if you're an investor, then it goes, you know, it's easy to say, it's safe enough, you know, that you can invest in me if that happens, okay? So we're counting on individuals who can invest in us, and art collectors, individual art collectors who can invest in us, and we're also counting on the bigger institutions investing in us. Okay. Now here's something else. I'm also proposing this, and you might want to do this as well. I'm proposing for groups. If you're an investor, form a group of 6, for example. Buy 6, and I'll give you a 7th one. Okay. So if you bought something for 50 times 6, that's 300, right? I'll give you a 7th one. So that's so that way, if the 400 gets reached, you can resell the 7th, even give discount to the next investor. You got your money, and then you still can wait for the next, for your art piece to go up in value. Okay. You almost did this for free, right? So come up with your gimmicks. If you're an artist, or if you're a cafe, gang up on the same artists and whatever, and or businesses, you know, gang up on the same artists. And once again, not everyone might qualify, but if you need them to, if they need your nudge, you know, to move them forward, please help them. Okay, and it's like a psychological thing, you know. The first book is hard to visualize, but once you've seen your name on print and on a book, oh my God, you know, you're going to say, oh my goodness, you know, I can do this again. It's fun. You just need to watch what I have to say here, and come up with your, immerse yourself in, read books on writing. Okay, it can be depressing, and that's all I can say for now. And thank you for watching, and keep in touch. Oh, here, if you need to get in touch with me, maybe you want to buy my work, or you have any questions about your work, get me on Facebook. You can message me, just look for Valzubiri, right? And this is my email. I don't check my email, not a lot. So don't, this is just the second way of contacting me right now. But if you want, I can easily, immediately answer you by friending me on Facebook and messaging me on the Facebook Messenger. And if you want, we can go back and forth and talk if you want. What else? I'll share with you tips on stuff, and even if you have questions on porcelain, I will gladly answer that. Okay? Your work is your work, my work is my work. Even if I tell you all the secrets I know and pitfalls that you should watch out for, your work is still your work. It's not going to be my work. Okay? That's why I wouldn't keep a secret from you. My methods of porcelain, stuff like that. I will share it with you. So, okay. So good luck, and keep in touch. Like this video if you want, and but most especially subscribe and make sure the bell notifications are available. If you have any questions, I won't even just make a video. I'll answer it to by Facebook Messenger. I'm not busy yet. I will tell you if I'm busy, when I get busy. Okay, so thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.